guys, Courtney here of Squire Studio, Urban Farm, and it is that time of the month yet again. It's time for garden tour. um, so I have been posting once a month garden tours of my suburban backyard garden um, that I also refer to as my micro farm. And on that note, I think I've actually been kind of contemplating this um, just today. And like clockwork, right on cue, the air conditioner comes on as I'm talking. So I've been contemplating changing my branding, my name. My YouTube name is gonna stay the same, Squire Studio, but I've been calling my garden endeavors Squire Studio Urban Farm, and that's been fine. But I think by calling myself Urban Farm, I think I have set unrealistic expectations for myself, um, which I think has caused a little bit of undue and unnecessary stress. So, starting this endeavor, for those who don't know, I started this um, garden um, as a process of healing. As I was healing from a heart condition that I had developed with my last pregnancy, I felt called to start this garden and do it for a creative outlet for myself, but also to show myself that I can do more than I thought I could, and to remind myself that I can do difficult things. And with that, I also, because of the nature of who I am, wanted to be able to earn a little bit of income, because y'all, if you haven't gardened before, but I think all gardeners know this, gardening is an expensive hobby. So I wanted to be able to use some of the funds from the garden to be able to put back into the garden, so that I could just not be bleeding money trying to establish this garden. So I did sell at the farmer's market for a while, the one that we have here in town, and I really enjoyed it while I did it. But then things within my household just got a little bit hectic, and my attention was very divided. So then I kind of contemplated laying down the garden, um, and maybe coming back to it in another season. Um, but then I realized what a blessing and what a gift and what a joy this garden has been to me. And so I came to the conclusion that I didn't have to lay it down. I just had to reprioritize. And with that, just less strenuous scheduling and restrictions for myself as far as the amount of work and time that I was putting into the garden. So, but with a name like Urban Farm, I feel like I have to have a farmer mindset, always working, Farmers work a lot of hours. And so it's definitely been an eye-opening experience for me personally, just seeing the amount of time and work that goes into something, even at such a small scale as what I have. Very, very eye-opening, very educational. But I think what I want to do is kind of rename what I've got going on here. We're still Squire Studio, but I think I'm going to start referring to myself as Squire Studio Homestead and Cut Flower Garden, because I think ultimately that really is my goal. As much as I thought I wanted to do farming, and there's still a part of me that still wants to do farming, high intensity, if you know what high intensity is, you know that you're always planting something, always flipping beds, thinking about your next crop. And it was enjoyable while I did it, but what I think I need to do is slow down just a little bit. And ultimately, the reason why I started this garden was for a healing journey, and so that I could derive joy from it. But with the amount of hours that I was working out here and trying to market and go to market, sell this, that, and the other, it was losing some of its joy. So I think the core of what I want to do really is homestead, which is providing um, food for my family, providing beauty in the cut flowers with the cut flower garden. So I think from here on out, I'm going to be Squire Studio, Homestead, and Cut Flower Garden. So without further ado, let's take a look around at the homestead and the cut flower garden. Okay, so per usual, I'm going to give you guys a little panoramic view of how the garden is growing. I've been working little by little. I have not put as much time into the garden the past several weeks as I want to, but things are picking up. If you don't know, I do homeschool my children, so school is back in session, so I haven't been able to devote as much time into the garden. And it's August, so if you know about the August garden, then you know the August garden is just wild. But one of the major projects I have been working on this past week is I'm digging up right here next to this sidewalk that goes through the middle of my yard and trying to do like this little landscaping venture. What I want to do is just plant flowers all along this walkway. I saw a florist post a picture on Instagram of an aisle that a bride was going to walk down, and the aisle was just lined in marigolds on both sides, and it was so gorgeous. So I wanted to attempt to do something like that for myself here in my backyard. I'm still contemplating if I'm going to do this side or not. I think it would look good. I'm just nervous about my kids running into it because they play on this side of the yard. But as you can see, lots of grass and lots of weeds. I haven't been able to keep up with the weeding this past month. But here is a panoramic view of how things are looking. And what I want to do at the end of the year is just do a montage of all the panoramic views that I have taken of each month's garden tour. I am like so pleased with this trellis here, and I'm gonna have to start it way sooner next year because I want to have foliage growing all the way over the trellis. And we'll see what's growing over there in just a second, but that is like my dream right there. I just want it fully covering the trellis, so I'm gonna shoot for that next year. But this is how the whole garden is looking, super lush and super green, and it's just putting a big smile on my face right now. Okay, so I told myself that I was going to try to also water the garden while I'm out here doing this tour. And then I brought a drink out here, so I have a camera in one hand and a drink in the other, but I'm also going to try to figure out how to balance the water hose because I do have to hand water the garden, and it usually takes me about 40 minutes. But this video will not be 40 minutes long. My goal with these is to be about 25 to 30 minutes, so we shall see if I make it. We'll start with the raised beds. There's not a whole lot growing over there right now, and then we'll just make our way through the garden. The Shasta daisies, which, I mean, they're just so bushy right now, and I really think that this is a flower bud down here. Is that a Shasta daisy flower bud I see? I'm super excited because I started those last year. And so it's taken almost a year for those. Actually, I think I started those last winter, maybe. I'll have to see if I can find my calendar or something that says when I started those. But these last couple weeks, I planted some pro-cut sunflowers here, and then these are zinnias there. And then I also have a loofah plant here and here. And on this trellis, a loofah. I'm really excited about this. I tried growing these last year, but didn't have any luck. I didn't get them in the ground soon enough, and so all my seedlings died. But I think I do want to start these sooner next year. I think I started these in either April or May. So they have grown really quickly just in the last few months. But I think if I start them sooner, I can get the loofah foliage to cover the whole trellis. And then I think there's only one on this plant, so I'm hoping to have just a ton of loofah next year so I don't have to buy any dishwashing sponges. So that's this bed. And we're going to go over to this one over here. Okay, this is my jungle of grass. Our weed eater, I don't know what happened to our weed eater. So this is looking like this because the weed eater is not working for me. And I do have like a grass knife, but I know that there's going to be spiders back there. And if I use the grass knife, I'm probably going to get scared out of my wits. So that's staying there until we can get a weed eater. But then over here, I have some bolted lettuces. I really just stuck those in here. I really just stuck those in to see if I could get lettuce to grow for a little bit in the heat. And it did. And we enjoyed a couple salads from it. And now it's just there until I can figure out what else I want to put here. Which I think I'll end up putting bok choy here. And then back here is mint, which I absolutely do want to take over. I know people are always saying to be cautious about putting mint in because it'll spread like wildfire, and that is exactly what I'm hoping for because I've been using it in cut flower bouquets and I don't have enough of it, so I want lots and lots more. And then these beautiful plants growing up this trellis are national pickling cucumbers. There's 4 plants here, and I think that was the perfect amount to put on this trellis. So I definitely am going to do this again next year with 4 cucumbers. We have gotten so many cucumbers from this. I've made like 2 jars of pickles. To me, that's a lot. To well-seasoned homesteaders and canners, 2 jars of pickles might not seem a lot, but for a person who's in their 1.5 year of gardening, I feel very accomplished. So you can see that some of the leaves are a little bit sunburnt. It's been very hot the last week or so. And previous to that, I did have a shade cloth over these. So they weren't used to the full sun, so they're kind of still acclimating. And so I think next year I might leave the shade cloth on here until the vines grow all the way up the trellis. But there is a pickle over here, a cucumber over here that I did not see yesterday. So yeah, that's one thing I've learned about cucumbers is you really do have to check them every day and thoroughly because they're sneaky. So over there where I used to have tomatoes, I had tomatoes over there last month, I believe. There's nothing there. I think I'm either going to put sweet peas here. I have some sweet pea seedlings started. Or sunset runner beans, I think is what they're called. And then I'm not sure what else. Maybe some snapdragons. Have some marigold and sunflower seedlings there that need to be watered. And then we'll go around the outside and take a look at what's over here. Okay, so that was the Shasta daisy, zinnias, and sunflowers, formerly where the gladiolas used to be. And then over here, I have a pink banana squash, which is just kind of meandering. I'm just kind of letting it do its thing. I'm not sure if it'll actually produce any squash. Most of the flowers have not been getting pollinated, but I just like the way that it looks. So I'm just going to let it keep growing and hopefully suppress some of these weeds because you can see they're getting a little bit out of control. Here I have another loofah, but it's covered by this shade cloth, which is here to protect my seedlings as they harden off. And then on the inside of the tunnel, though, you can see I have this gorgeous sugar baby that I think should actually be ready soon because the tendril here is dead, but this part is still very green, but it is starting to get a little spot on it. So this is a very large sugar baby, I feel like, but I'm leaving it on the vine as long as I can because the very first one that I picked was not ripe at all. So I want to be successful this time. And then I have another loofah growing right here. So just let it hang a little bit. But yeah, I haven't actually touched these yet. This was really weird. So weird. It feels like a soft zucchini. But yeah, there's 2 loofah plants here, and there is 1 loofah there and 1 loofah there. You can see they need to be watered, so I'm gonna water that here. And you might not be able to see it amongst the weeds, but there's also some golden beets planted in there, along with some lemon balm and some dead lilies. So let's look over here real quick, and then I'm gonna water that. I'm gonna water all these beds and then show you the next ones. So here is extra dwarf bok choy. That was the air conditioner kicking on. And then these are all mulched with shredded paper. So it's been working really well for me because I was normally using cut grass as my mulch. But when the weed eater died, I wasn't able to cut the grass like I wanted to. So I've just been using the shredded paper, and it's been working out really well. These I don't think are hardened off that great, so they're still struggling a little bit. You can see some of them are a little bit sunburnt, but I'm okay with that. I realize that bok choy is actually a cool season crop, so I probably planted them out way too soon. But I have about 50 more seedlings inside that I'll probably try to harden off and move out at the beginning of September, which is like 2 weeks away. I have some snapdragons there, chamomile there, and that is strawberry spinach, which I'm really hoping I'll be able to get some berries off of before frost comes. If not, I'm going to try it again next spring. I would love to just grow a huge crop of the strawberry spinach and then be able to freeze the berries. That way it's like I'm getting berry plants, but they're an annual, so I can kind of regulate that how I want to, because my strawberries didn't really last that long, and other plants such as raspberries and blueberries can take a little while to bear fruit. And then I also have that currant bush that's on the other side that'll be in year 2 next year, so hopefully it'll bear fruit for me next year. But that's what's going on in this bed. This one is also full of weeds, and pretty much the only things in here are this clump of Swiss chard, which I'm very pleasantly surprised is still holding on. There's some lemon balm that's kind of being crowded out by some weeds, and there are also some watermelon plants in here, but I think I don't really know how they're doing. I don't consistently water this bed because I'm kind of nervous about the weeds taking over, because I have not had time to weed them. But there is stuff in here that does need to be watered. Primarily the lemon balm, because I absolutely love the lemon balm. Okay, so we're gonna turn around and take a look, and then we're gonna go through these beds relatively quickly. So let's go take a look. Okay, before we go over there, let me just tell you that this was a sunflower bed here. It looks like grass and weeds now, but it was a full sunflower bed probably about 2 weeks ago. And since then, I've cut all the flowers out. That raised bed that's over there was here for about a month or so, but I kept running into it whenever I would try to get to the compost pile or to the sunflower bed. So I decided to move it. I don't know what I'm gonna put in it yet, so that's why it's just sitting back there. So let's take a look right here. Okay, so this bed has mostly been sunflowers. This year I put some zinnias in it not too long ago. These are actually looking really good. Some of them not so good, but these look really pretty. I might just leave them and try to save seeds. I've really been enjoying these zinnias. I have been using them as cut flowers, but they haven't been lasting as long in the vase as the sunflowers. So I'm kind of up in the air if I want to try a different variety next year or not. So all of the zinnias that I'm growing are seed packets from either Dollar Tree or like Lowe's or Home Depot. So they're either like Giants of California or like just a mixed giant zinnia variety. And I know most cut flower growers will grow the Benary's Giant because it's disease resistant and it's supposed to have a good vase life and a really long stem length. I did not buy any Benary's Giant this year because I had lots and lots and lots of zinnia packets from the Dollar Tree. So I want to use all of those before I venture into Benary's Giants. And then my mother was thinking of me, and she sent me more packets of the Dollar Tree zinnias, which have been beautiful. And I still plan on growing them. It's just the flower head does not have as many layers of petals as the Benary's Giants, but that's okay. I just put more in an arrangement to make it look fuller. I've been enjoying them, and I can't really complain about 25-cent seed packets. So let's look at the raised bed that's behind the zinnia bed. I'm so pleased with how this raised bed has been doing. I have a silver Yamato watermelon there. One vine here just giving me one melon. I have 2 small watermelon plants there. Not sure if they'll do anything, but what I have been the most excited about are these pumpkin on a stick plants, which are actually all ready to harvest. I just have been taking my sweet little time. Actually see there might be a little bit of scale on that. But yeah, these are all ready to harvest. I've been using them in flower arrangements. And then once I get all these out, there'll be more room for the roselle, which is definitely growing way wider than I expected it to. I thought it would grow more up than out, but it's probably about maybe 3 feet, 2.5, 3 feet tall, but extremely wide. So there's actually 2 roselle plants here and 2 roselle plants here, and I think it would have been better had I just put one there and one there, but I was nervous that they weren't going to make it, so I put extras, and I could have thinned them, but I'm really looking forward to having roselle this fall, so I didn't want to. And then down here I have my dwarf French marigolds, and then I have some dahlias, one there. There was one over here that didn't make it. I think there was one over here that didn't make it, but then there's one here, there, and there. And they're starting to put on another flush of flowers. The heat really had them struggling, and then I think I really need to fertilize them as well. But I've really enjoyed seeing how much these roselle have grown. I want to grow so many more next year, and probably just line this back wall with them because they've done well against the wall, which radiates a lot of heat. I have some Spanish lavender there and lots of black nightshade weeds. Or I think it's actually called silverleaf nightshade. Those are weeds. And then when I turn around, this was another sunflower bed that is almost done. I did put some celosia here on this side, and then 2 okra. There's an okra there and there. And then we have some celosia here. I was able to weed just a little bit the other day, which I think has helped because they were starting to become like that. The weeds choked out the celosia that was there. So this actually is taking way longer to grow than I thought it would, especially with the amount of heat that we have here. So I'll definitely have to start that way sooner next year, probably as soon as spring hits. Okay, and then these beds haven't really changed that much since the last garden tour, so I'm just going to give you an overview and remind you what's here. So this one is zucchini and zinnias. I'm really surprised that these have held on. They haven't, there's been some grasshoppers on them, and so I think some of them are suffering a little bit from grasshopper damage, but no cucumber beetles, nothing that's gotten the plants sick. For the heat wave that came through, they got really tired looking, but they have bounced back pretty nicely. The zucchini that's back over there is like a champ. I need to think about saving seeds from that one because that one was the first to produce, and it's produced the most zucchini. And then over here is the Kajari melon. These are almost done. I think I have like 3 melon over here that are that I'm waiting for to ripen. But yeah, those have produced beautifully. I haven't even used them as quickly as I had hoped. My kids really liked them, blended up and frozen into smoothie pops with Greek yogurt and strawberries. So there's a recipe for you. I have some pro-cut sunflowers back there. These are more pink banana squash that I'm just letting grow because I like the foliage, and I'm really just letting it grow. So it's kind of meandering, but I did see this the other day. there goes my hat. But there's an actual squash there, so these get really big. Oh, there's another one down there, and another one up there. These actually get huge, so I'm just gonna let it grow on. These are a succession of zucchini. I just did 3 here. I originally had 4 and 1 burnt up, but there is a zucchini there ready to harvest. I'll probably get that in the morning because I don't feel like getting it right now. I'm gonna grab my hat. So it's actually been a couple days since I've watered and since it's rained, and I thought I was gonna come out here and everything was gonna look half dead, but it doesn't look half bad. So I think mulching with the grass clippings and the paper has been a saving grace for me, because I have not been watering like I used to. I used to water every day, but I've been trying to back off of the watering a little bit just to help my plants become a little bit hardier, and I think that it is working. But mostly I was trying to water the sunflowers because they were looking a little bit scrawny. Some of them are still looking a little bit scrawny, and I know extra water is supposed to help, but I think at the end of the season I just need to get some compost and top everything off with composted manure, or just compost. But yeah, let's continue on with the tour. So back here I have another silver Yamato, and there's a really small one here. I'm really hoping that these taste good. I do plan on saving seeds from them. These, I don't know about this. This is a cucumber plant that has produced 0 cucumbers, so I don't think the bees are venturing back here. I have a couple of zinnia plants here. More cucumbers that have really struggled. So I know, note to self, this wall is way too hot to have cucumbers planted near it. But I think the roselle will like it. And I think the okra will too. Because I have some okra back here that's doing well. But those are the zucchinis once again. I have gomphrena, some bush beans, which are almost done. You can see they're starting to turn a little bit yellow, but there's a few beans left that I can pick. This okra that wasn't here yesterday and now got some good sized pods, so I'll get those in the morning. They'll probably be an inch longer in the morning, but that's okay. We roast them, and I don't mind the texture when they're a little bit larger. So I have some buckwheat here at the edge to hopefully kind of suppress weeds. Just noticed that okra too. Yeah, I haven't been out here. I didn't come out here this morning, so had I would have harvested some of this. But we have snapdragons through here, and what I want to do at the end of the season, I have a ton of snapdragon seedlings started right now. I want to come through and just plug in seedlings in these empty spaces, because these did not spread out as much as I thought that they would, and I think if I plant them even tighter, I can get even longer stems, get more in here, and I didn't use the support netting, but I think if I get them even tighter, I really won't even have to second guess, because there was some second guessing in there on whether or not I should stake the snapdragons, but I think if I plant them a little bit tighter, I definitely won't even have to worry about it. So there's a couple beets over there, and more weeds. Oh, and then across the front here is cinnamon basil, which has been a great filler foliage for the bouquets, and I really like using it in teas. There's more basil right through here. I definitely plan on growing basil again next year, more and more basil. It's been such a great filler for the bouquets, and I think I planted these 6 inches apart, but I think I might push the envelope next year and do them 4, because the thing about when you have a cutting garden, you're always cutting stuff out of it, so it doesn't really crowd each other out as if you were to just leave them to bush out. So yeah, these are just now getting over their transplant shock from about a month ago when I first put them in. So they're finally starting to get their green back. They got really sad looking for several weeks. And then I mulched with the shredded paper here. And then those are pro-cut sunflowers back there. And then I have some more okra here. I put my okra in all different beds because they were attacked by aphids horribly last year. So I thought, hey, if I spread it out, if one or two of the plants gets attacked, that won't be the end all be all of the okra. So far so good. I'm going to put runner beans here. There was zinnias here. They got powdery mildew, so I did pull those out. And then I put this bamboo here to make bean teepees, and I'm going to put one more there, I think, so that I have 3 teepees. And I'm going to wrap string and then just plant the runner beans all the way around. That's my current bush over there. Didn't get any berries this year, but I'm really thinking I will next year. My pomegranate tree, which I just learned I should be shaking it a little bit from time to time. It's plenty windy here, so they say do this to simulate wind so that you get a more robust tree trunk. But it gets very windy here, so as you can see, it's windy now, a light breeze. So I don't know how much this will help, but we'll just give it a shot. This is a pomegranate. I don't know what variety, but it has grown so much since I first got it. When I first got it, it was probably about that tall. So it's put on at least a foot of growth just over the past couple months. So I'm excited for that. Crossing my fingers that it'll bear fruit next year, because if it does, then we'll have pomegranates, we'll have currants, we'll have roselle and strawberry spinach, we'll have melons. So I just want to have lots of fruit because my kids love it. So these are more roselle. These are the ones that I said I probably just want to plant all along this wall next year. And then a second pomegranate over there. And then there's just tons of weeds back there and a mystery squash plant, I think. So, and then my compost pile over there. So I still need to water because I only ended up watering one of the beds. So I'm going to water. But before I do that, I'm going to give you guys one final overview of the garden from the opposite angle of where I was originally standing. You can see the sun is starting to set. It's golden hour. I'm going to give you guys one more view of the garden. One thing that I have learned through this gardening journey is, with my personality, which I already knew this about myself, is sometimes I want to be a perfectionist or an overachiever. But when you're building something like this, primarily by yourself, trying to be a perfectionist or an overachiever is going to drive you crazy. And so for me, this has really been an opportunity to just learn how to find beauty in the imperfections and let the good and the not so good bring me joy. You can see there's buckets and tomato cages and cardboard and lots of weeds. And literally like a month ago, it was driving me crazy because I couldn't keep up with it. But trying to look at the bright side, realizing that I've done 90% of this with my own 2 hands, I can glean joy from that, and I can glean accomplishment from that. And I don't necessarily have to look at the things that I haven't been able to do. Instead, I can look at the things I have been able to do and just meditate on that and be grateful for that. So my garden journey might look a little bit different from now on, as I'm learning how to slow down and realize that I don't have to look at the amount of things that I accomplish to be satisfied in my accomplishments. I can look at the things that I've accomplished well, even if it's just a few, and be satisfied in that. So I still plan on uploading my monthly garden tours, and if I can find the time, upload another video, like a weekly vlog or something like that. So we'll see what the future holds. For now, I am set on still doing the once a month garden tours. But thank you so much for joining me in the garden and for sticking around. I know I'm not able to put out as much content as other creators, but I'm also still learning how not to compare myself to other creators because I'm uniquely my own. So I appreciate you being here and following along with my journey. And until next time, keep learning and keep growing.